Hi, sixth graders. It is February, and there's a lot to celebrate in the month of February. Here at the library, we have I Love to Read Month. It is Black History Month, and we also are getting to welcome a number of you back to the building, which is so exciting. So lots of reasons to celebrate, and I'll be looking forward to seeing many more of your faces here coming up soon. Before we get into our book talk for the month of February, I do want to think ahead a little bit into March, because in the month of March, here at Valley Middle School, we celebrate along with March Madness. For those of you who are basketball fans, this is our take on the March Madness competition. We take a look at 16 books, the top 16 books actually, that have been checked out over the past 12 months of school, and we pit those titles against one another, let you do a bunch of voting in the month of March, and determine a winner, kind of the favorite book of 2020 and 2021. So what I'm going to invite you to do in the month of March, and this is just a preview because there will be more info coming out soon, is to consider filling out a bracket. The bracket you see on your screen has 16 books. These are the top 16 that have been checked out this year. We are going to let you, if you'd like, we'll invite you to fill out one of these brackets, making a prediction about which books are going to move on in the voting. For example, in the top left corner, you'll see Allies by Alan Gratz and Diary of a Wimpy Kid Old School by Jeff Kinney. You would have to decide, when students are given the opportunity to vote, which of those two books would move on in the voting. You know, which one's going to move on, which one's going to get voted off, and you'd place your guess on the bracket, and for every kind of prediction that you make that's correct, the better your chances are at winning some prizes. I'm going to explain on this next slide here kind of how this whole process is going to work. So if you decide you want to participate, it's all free to do and fun and just supposed to be kind of a silly way to, keep us a little bit busy here in the month of March. You would first fill out a blank prediction bracket using the link available, and we'll have it on both the library homepage and on Schoology, so there will be lots of places you can get a hold of that. You would need to submit your bracket by Monday, March 15th. So you would just go ahead and download that, fill out your bracket, which is the thing I just showed you back here. You'd fill that out, you'd put your name on it, and you'd submit that to me by the 15th of March. Only one prediction entry per person is allowed, so you can only fill out one bracket. Okay, starting Monday, March 15th, the games will begin. Every day you can vote for your favorite books on your Schoology class page. So I'll put out a Google form. Every day that week. You can vote as many times as you'd like. If you're really hoping that one of those books is going to move on, you can vote over and over again, making sure, or doing your best to make sure that it advances to the next round. Once all the winners are decided, we will award prizes, and if you predicted correctly, you could win big. In other words, if you made predictions that were accurate, if your predictions come true, basically, then you'll be our prize winners. So just something fun to do in the month of March as we're heading into the spring. I will have some info coming out on Schoology and to your advisories, in the announcements, all of that. This is just a preview to kind of get you thinking about March Madness, and I hope that you'll think about playing. All right, first off, Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis. This historical fiction book is one that if you didn't read in fifth grade, this used to be one that was shared a good deal, I think, in elementary school, but I love to share it with sixth graders as well, because if you haven't read it yet, it's one of my favorites. This is the story of a young man who, at its heart, he's really just searching for his dad and trying to figure out more about who he is as a person. And I love those stories where we're just trying to help see where a character is going and find out who a character, thinks he is. We'll watch a quick little trailer here about this story that tells you a little bit more about the book. I loved this story to learn more about the Great Depression era. I did not know a lot about the 1930s before reading this book, and I really immersed myself in that time period in reading this story and enjoyed meeting Bud and the different characters along the way who help him to figure out, like I said, who he is, because that's really the heart of this story. I'd tell you I love you, but then I'd have to kill you, by Allie Carter. Probably one of the longest titles in our library. This is the first book in a series, so if you've already read this first one, we do have the others in the series as well. Cammie is a student at the Gallagher Academy for Exceptional Young Women, and it poses, the school, poses as a school for genius kids, right? Girls who are of exceptional academic ability. That's not really the case. This is actually a school for spies, because in her classes, they're learning chemical warfare in science, and they receive extra credit for breaking CIA codes in computer class. Well, Cammie knows all kinds of things, obviously, being that she's being trained to be a spy. She is fluent in 14 languages, and she knows how to badly injure and maybe even kill a person if she had to in, 6 or 7 different ways. What she does not know how to do is act like an ordinary girl when she meets a guy she likes. And that's what happens in the first book. Sure, she could, track his phone, hack into his computer, do all those things, but she can't act just like a normal teenage girl and pretend like she is one. How can she do that and have a relationship with someone without letting him find out the truth about her? That's the first book in the series. Very enjoyable, lots of fun, and a mystery at the heart of the story with that spy element. The Face on the Milk Carton by Caroline Cooney. This is a book that has been around for a while, and I will tell you it's been around for a while because I read it when I was in middle school. That being said, it holds up. This mystery story, I guess it's in our realistic fiction story, but it has some mystery elements to it. This book still, to this day, it is still such a great story. It really is. Back a long time ago, they used to, on the sides of the milk cartons at the lunch tables, used to put the faces of missing people. That used to be a thing. And that's the idea behind this story, and as you can see on the book cover. Our main character, Janie's 15, when she's sitting down at her lunch table at school, and she looks at this milk carton and can't help but say to herself, that little girl looks familiar. The girl's hair is in pigtails. She's got this dress on. She was 3, evidently, when she was kidnapped from a mall in New Jersey. And it looks like Janie. Janie recognizes this girl as herself. So she knows it's her. But how on earth could that be true? Janie has loving parents. She's lived with her parents her whole life. Of course, that's ridiculous. But then she begins to piece together some clues that just don't make sense. For example, her parents don't have pictures of Janie from when she was a baby. And they always told her, well, we just didn't have a camera when you were really small, so we never took pictures of you as a baby. And that story worked until now. And now Janie finds herself questioning, is it possible that her parents kidnapped her and have had her ever since? Is it possible that she is indeed the girl on that milk carton? And if so, is her family still looking for her? This book takes you for a ride. I can't say more about it because I will give too much away. Check it out. It's great. Another good book, Restart by Gordon Corman. This book is the story of a kid who gets kind of a second chance at life. He falls off a roof accidentally, doesn't remember that happening, but wakes up in the hospital and is told that he did that. He doesn't remember that he hit his head. Actually, he doesn't even remember a thing, starting with his own name. He doesn't recall any of that. He knows he's Chase because that's who everybody's telling him he is. But when he gets back to school, it's really clear that everybody has very different impressions and opinions about who Chase used to be. Some kids really like him, like his two best friends. Others clearly really dislike him. And Chase has to decide now who he is going to be now that he has kind of this second chance. What if the person you were before you lost your memory is not exactly who you want to be now? Gordon Corman writes this realistic fiction book called Restart, and it's a wonderful book. Crash by Jerry Spinelli, in our sports section, as you can see from the pictures here, it's a football story, largely. It's mostly about a kid who plays a lot of football. And our main character, who's in 7th grade, big athlete, big into playing sports, he got his nickname the day he used his first football helmet to knock his cousin Bridget, on purpose, flat on her back, knocking the wind clear out of her. And really, he has been knocking people over ever since, especially a kid named Penn, who lives down the block. Crash loves to use his force, his power, to bully others. And this is an interesting book because it gives you as the reader the perspective that not many authors give you, and that's the perspective through the eyes of the bully. Usually we see through the character's eyes, the character who is being bullied. This time, the main character is the one doing the bullying, and we get a chance to see things from their point of view. A really interesting take, I believe. And the sports angle is a neat way to play through that. Try this one out, Crash with Jerry Spinelli. A lot of humor in this story as well, because this author always throws in some of that too. Last but not least, a graphic novel for your consideration. If you've not yet read El Defo by C.C. Bell, I'm going to let the author tell you how great this book is.
Hi, my name is C.C. Bell, and this is my graphic novel, El Defo. The book is called El Defo because that was my childhood nickname for myself. I became deaf when I was 4.5 years old after getting very sick with meningitis. My parents got me a hearing aid, and eventually I was enrolled in a school with kids who could hear. So I was the only kid, not only in my class, but in the entire school, who could not hear. So already I was very different. To help me in school, my parents got me a special hearing aid called the phonic ear. And it looks like this. That's my hearing aid that I wore, and every day I put it on just like this. The only difference is that in real life, I never wore it on top of my clothes, but under my clothes. And that is because I was very, very ashamed of how it made me look, because it made me look different. I also had 2 little earpieces that went up to my ears like this. So not only did I have this on my front, I also had cords going up to my head. Anyway, to make this work for me, the teacher wore a microphone. And what the microphone did was it amplified my teacher's voice just for me. No one else in the class could hear it because they weren't wearing a phonic ear. I discovered that not only could I hear my teacher wherever she was in the classroom, but I could hear her wherever she was in the entire school building. This means that I got to hear her having conversations with other teachers about how terrible we were, or maybe I could hear her smoking in the teacher's lounge, and sometimes I could even hear her when she used the bathroom. I am not making that up. But how did I know she was using the bathroom? Because I always heard the flush It was really loud and really awful. So what would happen is that all this stuff was funny to me, and so I giggled about it, and all these other kids who I thought would never be my friends because I was so different, they actually started to talk to me, and they said, well, what are you giggling about all the time? And when I told them, they were so impressed that they actually started to become my friends. Because when you share your superpowers, believe me, you do get friends. And also, if you are feeling really, really different from everybody else in your school, don't worry. When you grow up, your differences are actually what become your superpowers. Thank you. And the book is El Defo.
Pretty amazing read, and one that I hope you'll pick up if you have not yet done so before. I hope that one of these books sounds like a good read to you, and that you'll stop down with your class or on your own time to pick out a book or two to read. Maybe drop off some of the books that you've checked out during your distance learning time and let us know what books were good ones or not so good. Stop in. We've got some books up on display that we'd love for you to take a look at. And as always, feel free to put books on hold or make some requests, ask for recommendations. We are here to get you some great new things to read, and we'd love to help you. So thanks so much for your attention. Happy reading, and I can't wait to see you soon.